Joining us exclusively on MS Now, Maryland Governor Wes Moore and Jocelyn A. Peña-Melnyk, the Speaker of the Maryland House of Delegates.
Thank you to you both for joining us. Governor, it's Simone. First to you, your reaction to the passing of this vote, and then what is your plan to get this through the state Senate? I know they are having a caucus meeting tomorrow where there will be robust conversation. Obviously, the leader in the state Senate has some reservations that he has been clear about, and it is up to him. So how are you going to get this done?
Well, I'm thrilled and I'm grateful for the leadership of our Speaker and for the House, because I think that they've showed a measure of courage that is required and necessary inside this moment, that this is an emergency piece of legislation because this is an emergency, that we are watching an assault on the people of our state. We're watching their health care being robbed away. We are watching how all prices on everything is being driven up, how their basic constitutional rights are being violated by this administration. And this administration is trying to make that pain permanent by trying to ask the states that he chooses to go through mid-decade redistricting. So I'm grateful for the courage and the leadership that we've seen from the House. And the ask that we have for the Senate is very clear and it is very simple. It is just do as the House has done. Debate the maps, discuss the maps, and then take the vote. That is democracy, and you can't claim that you are defending democracy if you are trying to quiet democracy.
Speaker, I want to ask you, but first I want to pull up a graphic here that shows the states that have so far gone through redistricting so that folks can see the states that had some Democratic gains and states that had Republican gains. Because by our count right now, it's essentially Republicans have gained 3 seats before you guys have gone through your actions at this point in time here. As you're having conversations with the leader over on the state Senate side, Speaker, what are you saying in terms of making the argument that coming off of Indiana, their Republican legislature, rejecting a redistricting of the maps, we're sort of at a standstill? How are you trying to justify to the state Senate that they should move forward with this, with the risk that there's potential consequences of Republicans trying to get even more seats in other states?
And good evening. Thank you for having me. I have spoken to the Senate President respectfully, and I have told him that Florida is next. They have already called a special session for April. And this is simply the right thing to do. We must meet the moment. As someone who is a woman, an immigrant, person of color, there's no way that I can look at myself in the mirror and not vote for this bill. I had to vote for it. I had to do it for my 3 curly kids who are now being racially profiled. I had to do it for our civil rights that we're going backwards. I had to do it for health care, for education. We simply cannot stay silent. We're losing our rights.
Governor, let's talk about what State Senate President Bill Ferguson's concern is here. The argument he made in a letter to colleagues last fall was that the risk of redistricting was, quote, too high, making the unlikely possibility that we gain a seat not worth pursuing. In essence, a concern that this would get kicked over to a court and that a judge would redraw the maps in your state in a way that was actually more advantageous to Republicans. Do you believe that is a possibility? And should that come to pass, is there any way for you to get in front of it?
Well, first, to be clear, it's always the right time to fight for democracy. And it's always the right time to fight for your people, particularly when you are watching them so under attack. And throughout this entire process, throughout the Governor's Redistricting Advisory Commission, throughout the work that the Speaker has led throughout the House, we have been working with lawyers and working with judges. By the way, that includes the former Attorney General, who feels like the legal challenges are not founded, and who have all told us and have all said that for Maryland doesn't just have the authority to act, Maryland has the responsibility to act. So we know that the bill that was just passed by the House that is now moving on to the Senate, it doesn't just stand on strong legal footing. It stands on strong moral footing, and it understands the urgency of this moment.
Governor, you mentioned the former Attorney General, Eric Holder, for folks at home. He leads the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Redistricting is we've talked about throughout this show, is the game right now, because this, at the end of the day, boils down to power. And the president and this current administration, they're willing to try to take power by any means necessary. And I wish I was just making it up, but he did call up Texas and ask them to find him 5 more seats for this midterm election, hence why we are here. I want to follow up on Alicia's question to you, Governor. I have heard that a concern is about the Maryland Supreme Court, and that the Supreme Court, the last time redistricting happened, there was a 8-0 map, and the Supreme Court rejected that map. You are confident, given the legal advice that you have received, that you don't think this challenge is going to even make it all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and even if it does, you think you'll be successful?
The entire process, we have been working with lawyers and also judges. And when we talk about this was, based on the legal recommendations of the former Attorney General, that's not just the former Attorney General of the United States. That's also the former Attorney General of Maryland. So we understand that on Maryland law, that this stands on solid and good footing. The process that the House has just gone through, the bill that the House has just passed. This is a bill that demonstrates and shows that, again, not just Maryland doesn't just have the legal authority to be able to make this move, but also we do have that larger moral responsibility to be able to move and adapt. And I was very clear from the start of this process that if the President of the United States is going to ask all these other states that he hand chooses to go through mid-decade redistricting and to examine their maps, then there is no way that Maryland was going to sit on our hands when we were watching how Maryland has had the greatest assaults from this administration than any state in this entire country. And so I'm thankful for the courageousness that we have seen from the House, the ability to be able to move when the situation demands it. And the ask of the Senate is very simple: debate, discuss, but then take the vote.
Governor, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, they have not committed at this point in time to move forward with an attempted redistricting of their own map. What have your conversations been like with the Illinois governor, but also other Democratic governors who have considered making similar such efforts?
Well, I've been in close conversation with my colleagues from around the country. But the reality of all of this is the people who got me to move were not people from around the country. The people that got us to move were the people of Maryland, because the people of Maryland are seeing this assault every single day. The people of Maryland are seeing how we have watched health care being pulled away from people so we could give millionaires tax cuts. The people of Maryland have now seen how we have watched an administration that is using the Constitution like it is a suggestion box, while then trying to go to other states and saying that I need to find 5 seats here or 3 seats there in order to make this pain permanent. So we take our instructions from the people who elect us. We take our instructions from the people of Maryland. And the people of Maryland are saying act, and we're just now asking that the Maryland Senate listen to your people and understand that this moment requires courage and this moment requires a vote.
Speaker, when you are hearing that message from your constituents, what is their core concern that is driving you to take this action?
I represent a district that is very diverse. I am part of the Maryland Legislative Latino Caucus. We are the ones that get the calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night when a parent has gone to work and then does not return, and their young kids are left at home by themselves. We're the ones that get the call when someone has been taken by ICE and they have masks on and they cannot even identify who they were taken by and cannot even find them, and we're making calls to try to track them. We're the ones that take the calls. I have in my district to a couple that actually both worked for the federal government and they do not have work. We're the ones that are being affected. We get the calls from our constituents, a senior who cannot pay their health care. It's a parent who is terrified, who has a disabled child, and now is very concerned about what the federal government has done. We cannot stay quiet. We have to act. Our country, this is really a dictatorship that we're living under presently, and people need to wake up. And I have to do something. And my colleagues, 99 of them voted for this policy and felt strongly that this is the time that we must meet the moment. We must speak up.